Live from Denver's Cherry Creek neighborhood, you are watching the Kyle Malnati Show. We are broadcasting from Stewart Title's Cherry Creek branch, and I'm sitting here with a client of mine, Lesia Anders. Lesia, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. It's a pleasure.
So every Kyle Malnati show is special, of course, but this is especially special because Lesia's our first lady guest on the show. Lesia's been an investor for many years, owns 30 units over the United States. She has holdings here in Denver. She's got a 12 unit and a 7 unit, and then she has 11 units out in Hawaii. So Lesia, thank you so much for being here. The first question that we have for you today is, Lesia, what's your story? How did you get started in the multifamily rental business?
I got started in multifamily rental because of family. I had a sister who was complaining about her apartment and cold water and her landlord, and I said, you know what? Find an apartment you like and let's buy the building.
So she kind of had one of those landlords that just wasn't doing much.
Exactly.
Kind of a slum landlord you hear about every now and
she's
then.
on a 4th floor walk up in Brooklyn, and I went, you know. So we started, she found an apartment in a 4-plex in Brooklyn, New York, and after we found it and decided we were going to buy it, I called my brother who was in Hawaii and renting on it as well and complaining as well. And so I said, look, we're doing this. Do it there. And so I closed on both of those properties within a 1-week time frame. Yeah.
Wow, you went bang bang right there.
Exactly.
You make decisions.
Exactly.
Like that.
Boom boom. Right.
So on the 4-plex in Brooklyn, we spoke before the show started and did a little bit of prep for our show. And that's a real interesting story about how you sold that property. Mm-hmm. Do you mind going into that real quick? Sure. And just kind of the dynamics about that sale?
Like I said, I let my brother and my sister pick these properties. So because it was where they wanted to live. And when I went to go see them before the closing, I already felt committed. And I went actually to do the inspections and everything way before the closing. And I had veto power, but I had a very strong sense of they've picked this and this is where they want to live. So I have to be analytical, but try to like it.
Of course.
So my sister's property was next to a vacant lot.
Oh.
And after we owned it for about 3-4 years, they started building on that vacant lot. And that became a real hassle for her, but it ended up being very lucrative for us because they somehow made a mistake and overbuilt that property by 2 stories, 2 full finished condo unit stories.
Big mistake.
Big mistake, big deal. And in New York, you have what are called air rights, and it gives you the right to put a billboard on your building if you're zoned for that, or you own the space above your building to a certain height. When you need additional air rights, you can only buy them from a property that abuts your property. And the other 2 owners were older people who didn't understand and didn't want to talk to them, but I was very eager.
Yeah.
So I ended up selling the entire property to that developer. And they stripped the air rights and resold the building, I noticed much later on. But yes, it turned out very lucrative and gave us the money to come to Denver and do the wonderful investing that we've done here.
Yeah, and one of the other reasons why this show is special is this is the first show that we've ever taped that involves a closing later today. In about an hour, Lesia and I are selling a property that she owns here, a 12 unit. I know reluctantly, I'm sure, but in central Denver, and that 12 unit was actually done with a 1031 exchange from the property in Brooklyn that you just described. Lesia, what are some factors that you believe that have contributed to your success?
Well, so every real estate investor builds a team, and my team has always started with family. It just has worked out really well that way, that I end up having a local person who manages that property, who's living there, who cares about what happens in that building and in that property. Obviously, we've grown that here in Denver because Art doesn't live in the units that he manages, but that's been a big key part of it. I do the financial aspects and the numbers and all the things that I do enjoy doing, and the shopping. And they do the management, which is near and dear to them, so it works out really well from that perspective.
Well, and so just to stop on that point for just a moment on the concept of we are family and we're a team here. The first property in Brooklyn, your sister lived in and helped you manage.
Yep.
Second property, your brother out in Hawaii lived in and managed, and they both were integral in the selection process.
Exactly.
The property here in Denver that I'm selling, your father didn't live in, but certainly went over to the property. I remember him being very involved in the inspection.
Yes.
Is managing the property, does all the leasing, and so
he's actually been very involved in all of the properties and doing the inspections. So that's the other wonderful thing when you involve family, wherever they are, you get to travel there, and it's a business write-off, and you're working together.
And they're committed too. They're committed to making sure. I mean, it's not. Sometimes there's a lot of good management companies out there, but sometimes management companies that get a bad rap, it's because they don't manage a property like an owner would. They don't have the same level of concern for a property, and they simply can't. There isn't the same vested interest that a multifamily owner would have while they're managing their property.
And everybody might not have family that can do this, but I've been very lucky that we work well together, and it's worked out very well.
Well, and a common theme of our show has been that most real estate investors live where they buy, and real estate's inherently local. For you, you're able to circumnavigate that a little bit because you live in Nevada. You live in Lake Tahoe, but you're able to do that because you've got boots on the ground in the different geographic areas that you own in with family members, so it works.
Yeah.
The next question, I'm excited because this is also another first. We have polled the audience. One of our Facebook followers, Tamara, asked this question. When you're inspecting a rental property, Lesia, what other items besides the obvious are you concerned with? Not roof, heating, plumbing, all those things are very important, but what are some other things that you might look for as advice for maybe a first-time investor?
And my biggest one is, and of course, I'm looking to say, how do I feel about this space? But a big part of how I feel about a space is how it smells.
Interesting.
And so when I go into a building, and especially just before we're inspecting it, do I smell mold? Is there a funky smell? What is, is this normal? Could I put myself in this space and live with this odor every day?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's a little bit odd, but it's my thing.
Well, and we've spoken about your history, and for the folks that are watching, Lesia spent quite a bit of time in corporate and has a lot of experience working in business before you started investing in real estate and then became a mother. And so you had commented just about how you select properties, kind of taking yourself back to how you might have rented when you were single and working.
Right, exactly. That, do I feel safe in this space? Do I feel comfortable? Could I see myself here? Because I think, and especially because our buildings tend to be 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom studio style apartment buildings, I'm my younger self,
right.
my single self, is the person who might be renting this space, and would I feel comfortable here? And smell goes into that, security of the space, the neighborhood, all of those things that you normally look for. And this may go more to shopping than to the inspection, but so I very closely identify with my properties. So in addition to it being a little bit analytical, or a lot analytical really, there's also a lot of emotional components to a property for me.
Well, and to your point, because of the fact that that odors do actually matter, the Colorado Real Estate Commission added that into our real estate contracts as an inspection contingency item. So it is legitimate. It is one of those things that maybe you can't quite prove, but you just get this weird vibe or this weird smell. So thanks, Tamara, for asking that question. What are the things that you do differently than most real estate owners?
I don't know that I do things differently than most. I think the family aspect of how I've negotiated all of my investments has been key for us, for me especially, because I do the part that I love, and they do the parts that they enjoy. So that's worked out really well, and I think that's pretty key. I haven't talked to too many real estate investors who got started using family and who necessarily involve family that extensively. So that's maybe a little bit different, but I think everything else is, you analyze the property, you pick neighborhoods that you think are great, that people want to live in. I own one condo, one single unit. I like multifamily because if I have a vacancy, I can still pay the mortgage.
Right.
So,
yeah. And you can spread all your capital expenses across multiple units instead of one. So if the roof has to be replaced, it's not just that one rental unit that's funding it. You've got 12 in the case of Williams.
Exactly.
Something else we talked about as we were prepping for the show is that you are the first lady on the show. That's a nice title, the first lady. And being a woman in fairly male-dominated world of both real estate as well as just the corporate business world. How has that served you? And maybe talk about that story about the sale of your property in Brooklyn, and kind of how, you know, misconceptions or assumptions that people might make about ladies, you know, you've combated that over the years.
I have, and it's you know, I could get all upset about things, but it's always a little more entertaining to me. When I was negotiating the sale of the Brooklyn property, where the developer needed the air rights, they sent a gentleman to me, and he was an older gentleman, and
old-fashioned perspective.
Yeah, he was from Staten Island, and
okay.
He had an accent, and he came out to meet with me. And at the time, we were just negotiating selling the air rights for my building. I was going to keep my building, and he said, you know, we'll write you a check for $10,000, and you know, they're really not worth anything, and that's more than you're ever going to get from anybody.
Yeah, and you could smell a rat, I'm sure. You're like, no, something's going on here.
Well, it was just the way that he said it. It was very deary,
right,
you know,
yeah.
or girly, or whatever the term he used, and I just thought,
you're so sweet.
Mm-hmm. And you're so naive. What it said to me was, you're so naive,
yeah.
And I went,
that's not fair.
No, it's not fair, and it didn't, you know, it's just that guy, and that's okay, you know, he doesn't know me. So yeah, we ended up getting $300,000 for those air rights.
Good for you.
So yes, I was very excited.
300%, or a big increase.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so that was fabulous.
30%.
Yeah, it worked really, really well. But yeah, you have to, I know who I am, and it doesn't matter that nobody else does, and I hope that all women everywhere feel that way. Do what you love, feel strong in yourself, and don't just take someone's word for it, male or female. Know yourself and do your research, you know what you like. And I think we are seeing a lot more women in every field. I met with a buyer yesterday of another property of mine, who is a female.
Cool.
And yeah, and she's very excited, and it's funny because we had a lot of the same ideas about the property and chatting about it. So
some of my best clients are females, and I think that's one of those maybe untold stories that, you know, there are a lot of ladies that are kicking butt in real estate and in corporate America. The next topic is near and dear to my heart. I believe that leaders are readers. I think that people that choose to read nonfiction books as a way to educate themselves outside of school, just continually building on your education and your life experience, is really important. What book are you currently reading, and what makes it special to you?
So the book on my bedside table is called Middle School Makeover. It's by Michelle Icard. And it is, I am a parent, and my son entered this year 6th grade, and he's 11. There are a lot of behaviors and activities and things that happen when they go to middle school that
big transition.
It's a big, and I didn't realize, and I'm constantly feel like the dog cocking my head going, where is this coming from? So I got a book because I agree that, if I can find somebody who's written about it and get some more information, I can feel better. So it's wonderful. It's helping me go with the flow of middle school and embrace and enjoy it more than I might have otherwise.
Cool.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of great advice for the folks that are watching our show. What piece of advice maybe that you haven't mentioned that what would you give to an aspiring or first-time real estate investor?
My big thing is do it. You can analyze something for forever. You can read the magazines, the real estate magazines forever. But until you put your hands on it and just make the decision to jump in.
Action.
Exactly.
Yeah, make that happen.
Make that happen. And it may not be the right decision. Selling my William Street property may not be the right decision 10 years from now, but it's the right decision today. It's going to, jump me into a different phase. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You can only deal with the information that you have right now.
Well, and on that topic too, Lisa bought at a fantastic time in Denver real estate from a buyer's perspective, 2009, and she's selling now in 2015 in a market that's really just gone up. And so I think you've done very well with your investments.
Oh, I'm thrilled. Yes.
this is the part of our show where we love to share a quote, and we have two this time. We failed to share a quote with Ralph last time, and it was the one that he had selected, so I'll choose this one first, and it's from an author named Og Mandino. The quote goes, "Never feel shame for trying and failing, for he who has never failed is he who has never tried." So I failed last time by sharing the quote, and so I felt like that was appropriate. So there you go, Ralph. And then a quote that we thought was great from a wonderful female in America that's doing great things in business, Oprah Winfrey, says, "Right now you are one choice away from a new beginning, one that leads you towards becoming the fullest human being that you can be." And that's what you were talking about earlier, just about doing what you love, really embracing what it is that you're good at, and then building a team around you that complements the things that maybe you don't enjoy doing or the things that you naturally don't do well, and really selling to your own strengths.
Right.
I'm so thankful, Lisa, that you joined us on the show. I get a gift for folks. You're a mom, and most parents love a good bottle of wine.
Oh,
so I got your bottle of wine, and
aren't you sweet?
once you're finished with your other book, I got you Strong Mothers, Strong Sons by a wonderful author named Meg Meeker. Meg is someone I've been following on Twitter. You can follow me there at Kyle Malnati. And Meg Meeker is a psychologist and fabulous author about the gender differences between parents and children. So, dads and daughters, and then also mothers and sons. And so my wife is reading this book, and I'll be reading it as well. And so hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show. This is where Multifamily Matters. I'm Kyle Malnati with Madison & Company Properties. We'll see you around the neighborhood.